Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hmm. Might take the time to see everyone here if you would like to. Huh. Hmm.
Just a reminder to everyone that this is the time for the Sunday sitting. We're also doing the Sunday evening, afternoon talk for the online retreat that we're running, the Seeing Security Everywhere. So this is the last talk for the folks who are here for the weekend. And then there's a group of people staying on part-time and full-time through the rest of the week. So next weekend also will be a talk. There won't be a Q&A or a guided meditation. It'll just be the talk for the online retreat. So welcome to the folks who are here for the Sunday sitting, and welcome to everyone here for the talk.
Hmm. Well, welcome everybody. Can you hear me okay? It's okay. Okay. Hmm. There's a little tar road that we live on in front of the house, and it's pretty flat and even ground. And I've had some new levels of body dukkha, like maybe the worst I've ever had. A lot of injured tendons and have to really walk slow, stop when it hurts. Um, and I think we all notice when we have these new long body dukkha times, it can be challenging. But I also notice that when I have this probably severe limitation of movement, other things open up that I don't notice because I've been still moving faster than what I'm doing recently. Uh, and so, of course, I think we all know that uh, the benefit of slowing down can often be that we really do see that we have a relationship with the sky. You know, like Saigyo, the Japanese poet, related to everything as tomo, friend, loneliness, grasshopper, right? A tree, just what everything that appears, tomo. Um, and so I think whenever we do get to really slow down on retreat or with body dukkha, we get to, including, the more challenging emotions, we get to have the opportunity to cultivate these deepening tomos relationships, which includes the range of joy and sorrow, the range of the vicissitudes of life, uh, and of course, with the challenges, a deepening acceptance of living out karma or kama. So there's this. I don't think a normal person would call it a hill, but I have to call it a hill. I used to relate to it as flat, but it is like a little hill, and there's been this crack on the in the tar that I haven't noticed occasionally in 15 years, but the crack got bigger and I didn't notice it. And it's like a little hole and it has grass, a little grass in it. And the other day I was walking and I saw this teeny pink flower. So this is like in the middle of a tar road, like this little teeny tiny crack. Now it's like a little hole. And then instead of grass, it's actually a succulent or a sedum or something, and this teeniest pink flower. and it lasted one day. And I really felt like, oh, this is a resilience garden. This is incredible. Like to see it, something grow like that in the tar, uh, and to flower for a day. And I know it will again, but it's just like, I feel like sometimes we have to relate to our practice like that. That it's really about a lot of patience, but also each time we actually slow down, right? On a retreat or daily life, it's like when we finally just stop, something will reveal itself. And it'll be usually very heartening, and will make space for the resilience with that range of joy and sorrow. There was a great Japanese haiku poet named Kobayashi Isa, who lived 1763 to 1827. And he had uh, one of the most difficult lives I've ever encountered. And his haiku are amazing. And I'll just describe a few just because I think they're so interesting. My home is so poor, even the resident flies keep their family small. I just love it. They practice birth control, right? Like these it's so resilient. Yeah. It's so amazing. So you can tell from this next one, it's been a long winter, health not so good. Even my shadow enjoys good health and is safe on spring's first day. It's quiet, so quiet. A new fawn twitches, shaking free a butterfly, then naps once again. Could we relate to being tired that way? A new fawn twitches, shaking free a butterfly, then naps once again. And maybe one more, because of course there are books of his poetry, but this is really about compassion and the power of compassion, karuna. So in this haiku, he calls Kuan Yin Kannon. It's another name for her. Kannon, Kannon. Kuan Yin, of course, is another name, the Bodhisattva of karuna, compassion. Where Kannon remains, every endless direction, the cherries blossom. Just take that in, the caring about pain. Where compassion remains, every endless direction, the cherries blossom. And so if we get to have the opportunity to care about pain once, there's that immensity of the cherries blossoming, right? It's like boundless. I think sometimes when we come into a sitting or a retreat, our nervous systems are not always in a kind of balance. It's not the sleepiness, it's not the restlessness, low energy, high energy. anxiety, dullness, but it's like there'll be some moments where it will feel like, just like the Buddha said, that we can go from the hot sun to shade. And you just imagine being so hot and so sweaty, and then you go into the shade, and it's such a relief, right? That's how he described calm, calmness, that deep relief. It's like the energy field, the energy system has come into that balance. Sometimes a modern version might be if you have a loud refrigerator and the refrigerator goes off, right? It's exactly the same thing. It's like you feel that, the hum is gone. Yeah, that kind of irritating energy field. It, it gets extinguished. That's what the Buddha called that awakening factor of calm. So we can shift without a command, right? But at some point, there's that totally different shift into a different energy field. And that's what opens the passageway to the deeper relief of liberation. I know Jesse introduced more about pleasant, unpleasant, neutral Vedana during the walking practice this morning. And it's so important because the Buddha taught that with each moment of consciousness, there's a simultaneous arising, right with the contact, say contact, the ear door with sound. There's the sound, but within the appearance of the sound, there's a mental feeling of pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Not an emotion, but it's just simply Vedana, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. And that is happening moment by moment. It's not a choice we make. It's choiceless. It's like this stream of Vedana, stream of, a sound, a sight, a smell, a taste, a touch, a body sensation, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. And so there's the fact of that, right? There's the truth of that. The Buddha called it a foundation of mindfulness. But then what we're learning in this practice is that there's pleasant, and then we can be mindful of it, and we won't necessarily get attached to it when it passes, right? It'll be pleasant. We can even learn how to be mindful of enjoying it. And so there's that sense of always in the flow of how something will happen, there'll be a choice of how we're responding or reacting to the pleasant or the unpleasant or the neutral. Uh, and so that where do we get free? Where is that movement from the calm into the passageway into liberation? It's often understanding pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. It's where the Buddha taught that it can either be a prison, like a chain around our neck, or as we grow more and more aware of it, we have a choice not to react. Or if we react, we're mindful of the reaction, right? It's like this, always a chance. It's never too late, right? You can be 10 minutes into a rage and then it's like, oh, I could actually make, I always used to joke with myself, my early practice, oh, maybe I could try being mindful of that, right? 2 hours later, it's just like, oh yeah, right? It's there's that's so hopeful. So that understanding of the first truth of existence, and Jesse talked about that last night, like yesterday, um, anicca. That if we're mindful with some continuity, at some point we will have insight into impermanence. if we're paying attention to experience. Again, there's an inevitability to the insight. We can't command it, but we're just there. At some point, we'll see it, we'll understand it. And so, because of that impermanence, um, anything can happen, right? Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, anything can happen. And so that and within this, if we don't understand the Vedana and the impermanence, we often will not be connected to the truth that anything can happen. And this is where choice and freedom really start to become like a baseline for us around the practice, where we start to shatter over and over again that belief that we can control this stream of Vedana. Because it's the belief in it that then prevents us from going, oh, maybe I could try being mindful of this, to blaming ourselves and others for the pain and the attachment in this world. So then as we start to see that, Sayadaw U Pandita kind of drilled this into my head, that mindfulness is actually a mind that's ready for anything to happen. That's it. It can be distilled down to that. And so Suzuki Roshi described mindfulness as soft readiness. I've always so deeply appreciated the soft aspect of that readiness, because it's really where all the Brahma Viharas fit into this practice. It's like there's the hard, you can feel hard readiness. It's like can shift into like hypervigilance or striving, or you get exhausted from the striving and the vigilance, and then the dullness and the delusion, and the reacting to the change with aversion, attachment, fear, all that. It's because we are disconnected from the protection and safety of being connected to anything can happen. And these days, in terms of the outer world, we really need this. U Pandita used to say, I'm here to get your mind strong, your mind strong. It was so different, right? A way of hearing the Dhamma. But it's like a mind ready for anything to happen is strong. And then when you bring a teacher named like Sri Nisargadatta into that with his explanation of mindfulness as being the intention to understand rather than to judge our experience. Ah, all about motivation. And in that, I think over and over, endlessly, we see that we are so good at judgment. We are so good at analysis. We're so good at figuring things out psychologically. Like we're so good at all that. It's not to knock it. And again, it's with this practice, it's very hard to teach it well, because it's not to reject that skill set. And it's like if 98%, the 98% is believing our judgment, and less than 1% is the intention to understand. We suffer so much. The whole world suffers because we're so judgmental of ourselves or others. We're so unhappy. So if the intention to understand doesn't quite kind of jive with like your, the words that work well for you. It can be the intention to allow experience or to, make space for things just as they are, whatever way that your system can understand that, what that motivation is. And then again, as we practice, we see how easy it is to judge. More and more, it's that sense of like, you don't try to fight that or demonize it. It's much more you just let it pass through, like listening to sound. They're not a problem. You just don't have to believe them all. I'm going to reread the first paragraph of a poem I read Friday night called Clouds by Wisława Szymborska, Polish, 1922 to 2012. He lived. I'd have to be really quick to describe clouds. A split second's enough for them to start being something else. I just love that because that's how, how experience is. It's so cool. And it's like when the Buddha says, house builder, I see you. I'm not going to fall for you anymore. I'm not going to build this house anymore, right? Of identification of a, a me, a mine, or I. It's like, it's because we don't understand this. I'd have to be really quick to describe clouds. A split second's enough for them to start being something else. If we understand that every moment's like that, we won't identify with anything as you or ours or me or mine. It's because we're not seeing it. We keep gluing it together and gluing it together and gluing it together and calling it's a me or you or mine. And so that it's that shifting again to that calm, right? We need the calm, the stillness, and then just getting that sense that the awareness doesn't have to go through the thought process. Because the insight is not coming through the thought process. And that sense that when we have that direct experience, being will be there moment by moment. Just being will be there, but not self, an I or a me or an I being. So it's this momentary, flexible awareness, ready for anything to happen. You see, it's flexible. And within that, it's what's important is not to demonize that we do build the house, right? We do identify, we do close in on things with the mind, the attention it grabs, right? So we just are try to be interested. We try to be interested in building the concept of an I or me or mine, moment by moment. But really try to get that sense that that process is just like trying to put words on a cloud that's passing. The second paragraph of the poem. Their trademark, they don't repeat a single shape, shade, pose, arrangement. One of the aspects of practice that I think again it's so fundamental is that we start to see that with each experience, we will tend to make an interpretation about ourselves in relationship to the experience. So, such as, I'm doing really good at this. I am progressing, right? I'm doing really well at the practice, or I am failing at the practice. I'm going backwards, right? You got to identify it. I'm never going to get this, or I'm never going to get enlightened, or that whole, all of those kind of thoughts are making an interpretation about ourselves in relationship to a cloud passing by. That's really ungraspable. And so in this practice, which is so hard to remember, it's like the actual experience that's happening, we will say doesn't matter ever. It doesn't matter if you're exhausted. You can get enlightened not identifying with exhaustion. This is so hard to get. That absolutely doesn't matter. How could it matter? It would only be identifying with an experience and thinking it was I, if we're thinking that it matters. So there you can tell if somebody is really starting to get that, then it's a gradual ability to include loneliness as important as happiness or metta, or anger is as important, right, as peace, or all of this. It's like they're all equally important. And anywhere where we don't think that, we're not enlightened. That's all. So it's a matter of gradually including and getting a relationship. It's all about relationship. It's all about relationship. It's so beautiful. Look at this beautiful problem. Look at this beautiful problem. It's like, it's so amazing. And we can tell over time the karmic knots, and we can tell the places that we really don't want to include, right? It's amazing, how I think of it back in for me, my the old days were when back to the land and got a wood stove, and some people could afford those like enameled stoves at the beginning. They came from Norway. They were gorgeous. They were like green and beautiful, and eventually we all saved up for one. And I think of like the heart center like is that like a beautiful green enameled wood stove, and we just think that the practice is one of sort of getting to see that green, shiny, beautiful enamel. But over time, if you've practiced a long time, you get to see that you've got a wire brush out. You've gotten to uncover that. But then if so there's gradual levels of freedom. And it's like, then there's a point where you like, you've got a wire brush. And with the aversion, right? You just think if you could just wire brush that aversion out, like that you're going to be free, rather than to get more and more of a relationship with it. Full enlightenment isn't getting rid of it. It's getting 100% relationship with fear, with loneliness. So it's our idea, like what is so much suffering is our idea or belief of what enlightenment will look like, or even what we might be told or modeled. It's not true. How could it be? How could any experience not be worthy of enlightenment? It's unconditioned. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any logical sense. And so there's that great saying from the fifth Zen patriarch in the Zen tradition, the great way is easy. I love the caveats, right? The great way is easy for those who cease to cherish their experience. I know, yeah. So it's like the old translations didn't put the cease to cherish in it. And I think that's what we get so lucky when we get a great translation. So this isn't saying, oh, sorry, the cease to cherish their preferences. I'm sorry. The great way is easy for those who cease to cherish their preferences. So the cherishing of a preference is a difference. There's a difference between that and noticing that there's a preference and having a choice of how we relate to the preference, right? So there is no indication here that there's not going to be a preference. And you have to like get this logically and emotionally. Of course we don't want to be feeling like we're going to die of loneliness. Of course, right? Like it makes sense, right? And then it's like learning how to go, yeah, of course I don't want this and it's happening. Right? And can I be with this, right? Can I be interested in it? And I think this is where I could say in my first 3-month retreat with Sayadaw U Pandita, and he didn't explain much in terms of, well, what was the actual experience of mindfulness, kind of deconstructed. It took 3 months for me of real blood, sweat, and tears. I can't tell you of being able to come up with the acronym RAIN, RAIN, for what would include aspects of mindfulness that are liberating: recognition, acceptance, interest, non-identification. If all four of those aren't there, it isn't complete. And mostly we're getting pieces of it, right? We're getting, oh, oh, recognition. Okay, so you kind of slow it down and you go, well, what is recognition? What does it take? Well, if we're asleep at the wheel, we're not going to notice hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, right? Thinking about body sensations. It's like there is no recognition. Even when we're asleep, those are happening. The sense doors are still all there happening when we're asleep. Hence, enlightenment is described as waking up, right? It's waking up. When we're awake, is waking up to like more and more. Well, what's happening right now? And it takes again that relaxation, the calm, the kind of willingness to drop into the unknown and be willing to not know what's happening, to not be on automatic pilot. That's just aspects to it of just kind of again being with that flexibility of attention to ask ourselves, what is really happening right now, free of past memory. All of that is in the R. There's a lot more in that R. I could talk hours on the R, except because the opposite is so important. And I told myself I'm not going to do it knock on rain, but it's so important because the opposite of it is not, being deluded, right? Being asleep at the wheel. And if we don't accept that, we are in big trouble. If we idealize the recognition, we're going to be fighting and pushing away the dullness, the sleepiness, right? The delusion. And so this is how you can tell how you're doing with this is how it is when you wake up from being lost in thought or waking up from being asleep. It's like rather than, oh, I'm the worst yogi that ever lived or something like that, to, wow, great, I'm present. The attention has come back. It's completely impersonal. The only way that you remember to come back is by doing the best you can in your lifetime to keep remembering to come back. You can't command it. It's that impersonal. But the more you're mindful, the more you'll be mindful. The less you're mindful, the less you'll be mindful. So that means you can't get a PhD in this and not do it anymore. It means that you start getting so dedicated and you understand that the less you do it, the less you can do it. And the more you do it, the more you can do it. It's that um, scientific. It's that scientific. So acceptance and resistance, the A of the R rain, it's like the acceptance of how things are versus resisting. And again, the Buddha taught that it's the resisting what's happening, resisting the truth of what's happening. That's so much suffering. But again, if we demonize it, if we make it bad or wrong, uh, we really can't progress. So it takes so much practice to go, oh boy, I was hoping resistance would happen again. So you can learn how to be with it, right? That's the journey, is like including it, understanding it, having great, great compassion for not being able to be with things as they are. And then it's okay. It's like, okay, I can't be with this. Maybe I could be with this. Can't be with that. Maybe I could be with this. There's a lot of opportunity. There's hearing, there's seeing, there's smelling, there's tasting, there's touching, there's body sensation. There's the bottom of our feet. There's our fingertips. Lots of choices of what to be with. And then there's the Brahma Viharas, right? Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha. There's so many different things. And if we can't do that, you go look at a beautiful tree. You go have a cup of tea. Or if you really need it, a cookie or something, right? Like it's you go for a walk. There are so many things we can do to change the channel. And if we're resisting changing the channel or feeling like it's bad or wrong, again, it takes so much energy and it's so tragic. It's so sad. Oh, go start going faster. The interest, again, it's like, we all know that's the same feeling of relief that happens with these recognition, acceptance, interest. There's more and more that feeling of that when we can be interested in pain, really. It's not that hard to be interested in a beautiful sunset, unless we're really bummed out, of course. But generally speaking, it's usually kind of easier to be interested, but it's good to have the places where we're easily interested to start experiencing what that feels like. And all of it again is that gradual inclusion and gradual inclusion, gradual inclusion of everything, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. But this is again when you get into motivation, because it's like if we're motivated to be interested in something, to get rid of it or to get something, that's not what's meant by interest. This is a genuine, pure exploration. It's the willingness not to know something because that will be based on a past memory, but to just really have that real freshness of what is this, free from past ideas. And of course, the opposite is not being interested. And again, so much of the opposites are the most important. And, having been through another round of some months of maybe the worst pain I've ever been through, I can I can definitely testify that it has to be okay not to be interested in pain. Unequivocally, absolutely important. It's a rest. You take a rest already from it. You don't, what do they call it? Beat a horse when it's down. Not necessary. You wait, you wait, you wait until there's enough energy or courage to dabble in it when it's really painful. That's including emotional or mental or physical pain. Always that strategy of rest, looking if there's courage, and then attempting to connect and moving away when there's no interest. And none of it, this was not going to be my talk, non-identification, and which some people have changed. Non-identification is very important. If you call it something else, it's actually leaving the thorn in the heart. So the thorn, you want to take that thorn out. It's like what the Buddha was talking about in the sutta we're going through in this retreat. But it's like you take that thorn out. The identification, it's my knee pain, it's my back pain, it's my fear, it's your war, it's our peace. It's like whatever it is, all of it. When you get that it's not personal, it's not mine, you pull that thorn out. That's the deepest relief. And of course, the opposite is identifying. And it's like when it feels like it's my neck pain and it sure feels like my neck pain, and we don't have any idea that it isn't ours, then you go with that. That's the experience, right? It's like, what does that feel like? Oh, it feels tight. What is it? What does anger feel like? It doesn't feel good. It can feel good to be right. I give, of course, but that doesn't go that far really after a while. Like it's like, that just like that feeling of being so separate because we hate something so much. Yeah. So it's like we have to really get the gentleness with this stuff and that the ability to feel like, okay, this when it feels like mine, usually the more pain there is and the more it's feeling like mine or me or yours or ours, it feels permanent. That's why we feel so far from the truth. It feels so permanent. And then we get into all the ways that we're defending ourselves from that. But if you keep telling yourself to wait, wait, maybe don't write that email. Maybe don't say that, right? Like maybe I can wait until you can see it's impermanent and then see what's going on, right? And like then communicate without the harm, with the motivation for the intention to understand. So equanimity is like the deepest kindness we can have for ourselves and others. It's beyond pleasure and pain. It's like an endowment of strength and courage. It's the willingness to be with things just as they are. It's not how attachment wants things to be. It's not how aversion or fear wants things to be. It's not how delusion wants things to be. It's how wisdom sees things as they are. It's a relationship of kindness, compassion, appreciation, gratitude, and a deep peace of understanding. So I think that with that part of the talk, just again to say that as that equanimity becomes more accessible, we get less limited by our longing for life to be different than it is. So it's not you're not again, you're not demonizing the longing for life to be different than as it is, right? Of course we'll have that, but it's like we're not limited by it. You know, that the intention to understand gives us the more and more time and spaciousness to be willing to be with the nature of how things are rather than what we're longing for, but by not demonizing the longing, by getting more and more of a relationship with that, with the greatest compassion. Well, I wanted to talk about one of our three feral cats because I have this great longing that she didn't disappear. Her name is Christofferson, but she disappeared some weeks ago. And she was the wildest of the three and the most good natured. She's a daughter of the mother feral cat. And she would always surprise me because she didn't really care about treats or food or all she cared about is if you'd come out and her most favorite thing would be to go down the driveway and look at the sky with you. Like that's so simple and beautiful, but that's all she would care about, and if I was too busy and I would see her just yearning for that time of just being, right? Like I'd sit on the step with her and often, you know, laundry on the line in the wind and enjoying the wind and um, just like even a minute of that would make her so happy. The other cats really like kitty treats, right? Like they like food. And it's not that she didn't appreciate it, but she just cared about just being, nothing else to want, nothing else to get rid of. Yeah, I just find her really easy to miss. So I didn't, um, it's not that I don't think she couldn't come back because they say they can, but it doesn't, you can tell the mother cat, her mother and her sister are starting to feel like she's gone. And I didn't wash her rug. When I wash, you know, one has a rug, one has a towel. I wash them not nearly often enough. But before I really accepted she might be gone, I didn't wash her rug. And I didn't quite know why because I can't smell her scent at all. But yesterday, the mother cat, oh, it's so moving. She came up on the rug and she just started rolling in it and hugging it and smelling it. And I just sat with her and I started crying. And then we just sat there missing her. and appreciating that she brought us so much joy. And I think that like with, this the teachings about impermanence and all the wisdom and their love and I think death is probably the most paradoxical. It's just that there's this terrible vacancy right now with missing her, but also it's that vacancy is also filled with joy and kindness uh, and appreciation. And there's a great saying by attributed to Kuan Yin. Of course, she's a bodhisattva of compassion, and she's not human. But it's the winds of circumstance blow across emptiness. Whom can they harm? The winds of circumstance blow across emptiness. Whom can they harm? That's very lighthearted, right? It's very deep and serene, but very lighthearted. And it again, it's like that sense of a cloud going through the sky. Not when it's that thick cloud cover that can last weeks. I mean, just like an actual cloud that you can see moving. You can get that sense that the wind and the water vapor, that sense of the transformation of elements is moving. That's our bodies. That's the earth. It's all of us. Matter, the transformation, constant transformation of elements. You can get that sense of the winds of circumstance blowing across emptiness and that deep safety of the wisdom of that, right? That deep safety and protection. There's a book I have on Japanese death poems. And I don't always read it, but I do sometimes because I think it's so beautiful and important. Uh, I'm not sure it's a tradition that I will try to do myself, but it's like a tradition in Japan for some people to write a parting haiku, and they're so beautiful. Maybe I'll read. Uh, this is an emperor's wife who became a nun at 45 years old. She wrote, "The sun goes down behind the mountain peaks and bells ring." That was her parting haiku. The sun goes down behind the mountain peaks and bells ring. Ah, okay, we're going to do two more poems. This is by Shiko, who died in 1845 at 57. A cricket crying comes with me through autumn mountain. Cricket crying comes with me through autumn mountain. I was only going to read this one. It's by Ensei. He was 69, 1725. Right. Before I read this, I just want to say I do tend to lean back on some of the more ancient, um, particularly exiled recluse poems, because I do feel again that our times needs it, calls for it. It's like kindred spirit. So this is Ensai. Mm. A parting gift to my body, just when it wishes, I'll breathe my last. That's like such gratitude for his body, right? And the breath, a parting gift to my body, just when it wishes, I'll breathe my last. Oh, that we can have such balance of love and wisdom. Let's sit for a moment or two.
Thank you, Michelle. So for those of you who are here for the Sunday sitting, we look forward to seeing you next Sunday. For those of you on retreat, I'll see you just in about an hour for closing of the weekend, our metta chant and sitting. And just a word for if there's folks who are going on with us through the week, but it's too late for you and you're going to bed. We realize we're gonna have to make a little bit of adjustment to the schedule for the coming week. We haven't quite figured it out yet, so we'll probably post it later on this evening. So just by tomorrow, you'll have a refreshed schedule. I'll just keep that in mind, just to accommodate interviews and stuff like that. All right. Take care, everyone.